Welcome back to the series where I'm walking around the whole of Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly in one trip. In this video, I'm starting off at Talland and heading past Looe. I wild camp with a stranger and then experience the first big rain of the trip, where I finish Cornwall's east coast by crossing over to Plymouth, stay at a friend's house and then start the 87-mile Tamara way, connecting Cornwall from coast to coast, before on the same day, after some questionable choices, fall in a river, plus a lot more in stock for you in this video.
Good morning. It is currently the 10th of May and it is 9 o'clock. I slept pretty well last night, I suppose. I woke up at like 7:30 to go and get out, but then I was like, you know what, we're in a safe place, so I'm just going to lie in a bit longer. So today the plan is to get to Looe, probably have some breakfast, charge up the rest of it, and then get about halfway around. The next bit is quite straight, so probably try and get about halfway around there. So then tomorrow I can get to Plymouth by about afternoon. So yeah, let's get my teeth brushed and get ready. Okay, we're all packed up. I got some sun cream on, and also I thought it was worth mentioning that today is the longest I've ever been away from home, which is kind of weird to think about, but I'm not homesick. I'm enjoying it actually. It's nice. And well, we better get on the way.
I slowly made it back down the hill I camped on and then continued back on the path, heading towards Looe, with the last corner of this side in my sights.
I've just sat down to have a quick snack break, and already I'm noticing that it's a Saturday and a lot of people are out, which isn't a bad thing, but it's very morning, brilliant weather, yeah, I know. So, oh well, we're having fun. We're probably about an hour away from Looe, which is the big town. We can get some more supplies and we can charge up and have some breakfast. So, yeah, let's keep on walking.
The name Looe comes from the Cornish of loch, meaning inlet, and the town has a very long history, with people inhabiting as early as 1000 BC, and the town dating back to the 12th century, when it was known for its busy port and fishing. It came to become one of Cornwall's busiest ports, and grew with smuggling, shipbuilding and trade. Looe Island used to be a monastery, but is now a nature reserve. The town is split into East and West Looe, connected by a bridge, and today is a popular tourist spot. When I arrived, I filled up my water bottles, had a quick look around, and then grabbed some food from the corner shop and enjoyed it on the harbour. I then decided to go into one of Looe's famous arcades and ended up staying there for about half an hour trying to win something for my friend I was staying with tomorrow. But after spending too much money, I care to admit, and coming out with nothing, I then had to charge up my batteries, so stopped in the cafe and had a pasty for another hour. For some reason, my microphone stopped working for the next couple of hours, so the next bit of footage you're going to have your favourite copyright-free music to listen to, so sit back, relax and enjoy the next few miles. Whilst walking down to Millendreath, my other back support snapped on my bag, meaning my bag was now leaning off my back and pulling me backwards, and the next place I could get a new one was in Plymouth tomorrow, so I tied it on as well as I could and started getting a move on. As I noticed some fellow wild campers, my camera started working properly again, and now I was only around the corner from Portwrinkle. Portwrinkle, coming from the Cornish of Portwrinkle, is a small village that traditionally practiced fishing and smuggling, with the old 17th century walls of the pilchard cellars still standing today. About half an hour previous, I bumped into two hikers saying that I was about to go through a golf course and a big military base, which with the sun on the way down, I would have to pass through quickly so I could find a camp spot in the light. We had now reached the golf course, which meant that I had to get a move on for a few miles to get past the military base before dark.
We've only got about an hour until sunset that I can find somewhere to sleep, so we're going to have to keep a lookout for the next hour. I'm hoping to make it maybe to Treathy, something like that, and camp around there. And then tomorrow maybe I'll wake up about 7, get ready to leave at about 8, half 8, and make it to Plymouth. Come on.
Into the military base coast path, the red flags were not up, which meant that thankfully I would not be getting shot at.
Brilliant. Right now I'm in a military base, which is kind of scary, but we have to go through it. It's part of the path to get to somewhere we can actually camp, so this is going to be fun. This is Tregantle Fort.
Tregantle Fort was completed in 1865 as part of multiple coastal defence bases around Plymouth to defend against French threat. It is still active today as one of the only Victorian coastal forts in the country. This spot is well known for buzzards, and while walking past I caught this amazing footage of one flying its dinner around in its talons. I was now heading out of the base and in desperate need of finding a place to camp with no decent spot seemingly close by, so I kept my eyes peeled and carried on the path.
Maybe the most expensive gate I've seen this whole trip.
Rame is the last headland before reaching the Tamar River, and as I saw the sign, the last sunset of Cornwall's east coast had this unique pinkness I thought was pretty breathtaking.
By the looks of it, it kind of seems we reached a dead end that way, which is the way I was headed. So I could turn around. There aren't very many good spaces at all, but there is a sort of flat cliff bit which could work. So I'm kind of contemplating now. The thing is, it is like really starting to get dark. Sunset was like 20 minutes ago, so I've got to kind of find a place and settle. Wish me luck. I think I'm going to go back down the cliff that way and try and find somewhere a bit flat, but it is very obvious. It's in eyesight of that village there, Freathy. I spent a bit too much time in the arcade, so looks like I'm going to have to make my bed.
The only place that wasn't a farmer's field, military base or cliff edge on this stretch was here, next to a coastguard, where I spotted another wild camper already there. Being the only place where I could camp, I walked down and had this conversation with them. How you doing? Not bad, yourself? Yeah, pretty good. Are you wild camping? Yeah, for tonight. Do you mind if I camp down here as well? This is the only good space around here. Yeah, sure mate, no worries. And just like that, I had a spot for the night, and after setting up my tent, I had a chat with him and found out he was learning to farm nearby. It was then getting quite late though, and it was time to get some sleep.
It is currently 7:30 and it has rained overnight quite badly, and some of my stuff are quite wet. So we'll have to deal with that, but better pack up and leave before the rain starts again.
I started packing down and my neighbour was doing the same.
What's on?
Good morning.
We just packed up, but starting to rain, so we better get a move on, eh?
We better get a move on.
Proper job. This is Torren.
Yep.
Torren, yeah.
Nice to meet you, Pierre.
We kind of were next door neighbours last night, but yeah, proper job.
I was then soon back on the road, and although we had avoided most of it for the last 10 days, minutes after starting walking again, the first big rain of the trip had started, so I put my expensive camera in my bag and pulled out my waterproof GoPro. Hoping that the rain wouldn't soak through my bag, I walked as quickly as possible, heading for Rame.
Smells like cow.
My bag was now thoroughly soaked and I was approaching Rame, but I checked Google Maps and it showed that the path didn't connect to go to Cawsand, where I decided to take the ferry over to Plymouth and where I would start the tomorrow way. So I decided to follow the road into Cawsand instead of going up the headland. So we're almost at Cawsand, where there's an inn. I hope to get dry, and I can almost tell the rain is likely destroying my camera equipment, which would be the worst thing to happen. So I'm just hoping that it's fine, even though my backpack feels wet, but we'll get to the inn and hopefully everything will be okay. Okay, so we found a little shelter. I've checked my camera stuff. I'm currently recording on the 4K one, so it's all good. It's not actually even too wet, so that's good. I'm going to stay here for a minute, see what happens, and then I'm going to get on to the inn. Walking into town, I then realised there was a ferry in the next 20 minutes to Plymouth, so I decided to not go to the inn and wait for the ferry to arrive. Well, I know it's been a rather sombre note this last few hours, but the thing is, it hasn't rained the whole time, which is amazing. And for after Monday, it's not supposed to rain that I can see. So if this is the only hurdle we have, and we've got a bed tonight and a shower, then I think we're doing pretty bloody well. I think you'll probably find out by now that I'm the serial optimist. I think it's good to be optimistic in this situation, so proper job. After a few minutes, the ferry was arriving, so I hopped on and enjoyed the long ride and views coming into Plymouth, knowing that I had officially completed one side of Cornwall after 10 days of walking, and could take an afternoon and evening off at my friend's house before heading on the 87-mile Tamara way.
Lovely stuff, mate. Thank you very much. Right, cheers.
And with this step, I had just crossed into Devon, where I'll be starting the Tamara way tomorrow. And in the distance, I heard people cheering, so I walked over to see what was happening.
And just like that, we're in Plymouth. There seems to be some race behind me. It's kind of interesting, but it's only an 18-minute walk to my friend's house where I can have a relax and just have the day off. So, gonna get a move on, gonna cheer these geezers on, and yeah, we'll see you in a minute.
After that shenanigans, although it seems Plymouth loves a Cornish pasty, it isn't actually in Cornwall, so I won't do a history review. But I walked through the first city of the trip towards my friend's flat, a bit bewildered after walking through bushes the last 10 days, but a nice change of scenery nonetheless. And as I waited for my friend to come down, the security came round the corner and must have thought I was homeless, which led to this interesting interaction.
I wasn't thinking that. I just walked over 100 miles to come in, so yeah, proper job.
Oh god.
How did you feel? I walked from the bottom of Cornwall to the top to see you.
Pretty good. You move a bit quicker.
Can you move?
I arrived at around 12, had a shower, washed my clothes, and then spent the rest of the day recovering. This is the last clip of the day, before I had a bed for the night.
Good morning. We have had our bed, we have had a shower, and we also got a new bag. So it's a better bag, it will last a lot longer and it won't keep on breaking.
I thought.
So yeah, I've got to pack all my stuff and we're heading up the Tamara way.
We had some coffee and then I left in the afternoon towards Taco Bell, where I filled up on food, something I would find hard to come by on the next part of the path. I then started heading towards the Tamara Way path, opened in 2023 to link Cornwall coast to coast, which was about a 20-minute walk from the city centre. Right now, I'm about to start the Tamara Way. I'm currently in Devonport, which is on the other side of the crossing from Tor Point, and I've got 82 miles to go before I get to the Bude, which is the other side of the Cornish coast. So, a lot more walking to do, but let's get today started. The first part of this Tamara Way was along the coast of Devonport, and straight past the long military base. There weren't too many nice sights along this bit though, and I was looking forward to making it past the Tamar Bridge and along the Tamar Valley, where it was green again.
This is the Tamar Bridge.
Tamar Bridge was opened for traffic in 1961 and connects the town of Saltash in Cornwall to the city of Plymouth in Devon. It's also a strong part of Cornish identity, signifying a crossing over back home.
It definitely feels weird doing this route so far. It's literally along main roads, but in a few hours I should be at the Tamara Valley, and that's quite green. It's quite nice, I haven't been there before, and it looks more regular to what I'm used to rather than walking along literally a city, so looking forward to that.
Then only moments later I found the first Tamara Way sticker, which points in the direction of the path. So I followed it and realised I was only a few turns back into nature. I then soon reached the first proper path. My new bag was a bit bigger, which meant that I could fit my sleeping bag inside it, but there wasn't a proper place to put my tent outside, so I had to fix it to some loops, meaning that it bounced. I had now made it to the first woods of the Tamara Way, and for most of the day, the path was like this, following the Tamar River.
So far, I've kind of liked this path when it's gone next to wildlife and the river. I feel that I'm kind of going a bit fast though, because I've got to be in Calstock from about 8:30 to 10 o'clock because someone has very kindly allowed me in their garden, so it's still quite a way, which means I'm kind of walking quite fast.
So we're just about to turn right and go around this section of the river. Just past this point actually ended up being probably my favourite part of the Tamara Way, despite what curveball it had to throw at me in a minute. This is the start of the highlight story of the trip. Well, this seems bad. This is Lopwell Dam, which is part of the OS map route I was following the Tamara Way on. The time was 8 PM and I was still a decent distance away from the person's house I was going to be staying at. It turned out that it was high tide and the shallow stepping stones that go across were inaccessible, and to add insult to injury, there was no path or bridge that connected to the other side for another half day upriver. So, after getting egged on by some people that assured me there would be no other way around I could get to today, I made the bold decision to go around this fence and attempt to cross the dam. I chucked my big camera in my bag and put my GoPro in my mouth as I steadily climbed around. To save you from my mouth noises, I'll chuck some music over it.
Well, I said I like a challenge.
After a pretty easy way around the fence, I then got to this bit, of which there were two slow flowing water streams and one fast one in the middle. I tested the fast one to see if I could step in it, and it took my foot away. So, after deciding I couldn't go back, I attempted to step over the fast bit to get to the other side where it was slower. Enjoy. Despite what demon noises you just heard, other than a few scrapes, I was absolutely drenched but okay. I also don't know how I didn't drop the camera in my mouth, but my main concern now was about my backpack I had on, with all my stuff in it, and my battery pack and electronic cables for some stupid reason in the bottom. But nevertheless, I still had more dam to cross, so I forgot about it and continued to the other side. This bit was flat, so I could walk across it easily. This last bit though was along a point, so with my phone still in my pocket, I had to straddle it the whole way across. At this point, my knees were hurting, but I couldn't stop and had to carry on. Now across to the other side, after no doubt one of the scarier moments of my life, it was time to assess the damage and clear the river from my boots.
I can't actually believe I did that. Both doing it and did it. Like, I'm soaked. I fell in. My shoes, I can feel puddles. Never do that, guys. That was a stupid idea. Don't do that. And now all my stuff is wet, including my electronics, which were at the bottom of my bag, which is the bit that got soaked in the river. So we're okay, we're alive, but I've learnt my lesson. I'm not crossing a bloody dam again.
I would also like to mention that I caused no damage to the fence or dam and left nothing behind, and I would soon be paying for this mistake the whole rest of the trip, something you will find out later. My big camera was also fine, as it was in the top part of my main bag which remained dry.
Okay, after clearing the lake from my boots, it is currently 20 to 9, which is quite a bit past when I said I'd meet the people. There's currently no signal. I'm in the woods. I'm wet, but we're all right, and it's a story to tell today. So we're on the way. Hopefully I'll get some signal soon. I'll message them, and then yeah, see what happens tonight.
So with that event behind us for now, I headed on my way towards Calstock and back into Cornwall. This clip is quite funny, so I left the whole thing in for your enjoyment.
I've had enough of dams. Oh, there was a path. Brilliant.
It was then getting dark, and I found out that I had to get a train as part of the Tamara way to Calstock, as there were no walk bridges that connected over the next river.
I think we're still about an hour away, but luckily I spoke to the person and they said that they'll be up and still accept me, which is amazing. So I'm hopeful, even after a rather weird day, that will all turn out for the best.
This was probably the single lowest point of the trip, the only time I was literally shivering from the wet and cold, and where I found out my battery pack had broke, with my phone on 5%, a digital train ticket, a 20-minute wait for the train that I would be meeting someone I don't know to stay at their house, But ready for whatever was thrown at me, soon the train arrived, and I had enough battery left to show my ticket. I then got off at Calstock and met with my host, with this being the last clip of the day.
That survived the river.
I don't know. It was at the top of the bag, so it kind of, you know, must have...
After which, I arrived at their house and they let me stay the night in their guest room, something I was very thankful for given everything that happened today. And after a hot shower to get rid of the river water off of me, that was the end of day 12 and the end of this video. Join me next time to see me carry on the Tamara way, following the path over many bridges and rivers and having to deal with no battery pack and very little pubs and shops on the way. And now, my wet boots ruining my feet for the next few days, something that would turn into an absolute nightmare for the rest of the trip, and many more surprises that you can't miss.